Jeffrey Epstein's victims are suing JPMorgan and Deutsche Bank for helping Epstein finance sexual abuse and turning a blind eye to all the red flags. Welcome to America Uncovered. I'm Chris Chappell. I hope you all had a wonderful Thanksgiving Day last week. In uncertain times like these, it's good to reflect on things we are grateful for. I'm thankful that I was able to eat some delicious, mysterious meat while talking geopolitics with Matt and Shelley. If you want to see some good gameplay and hear our insights, check out our new channel, Gamers Unbeaten. The link is below. But you know who might not be feeling very thankful? JPMorgan Chase and Deutsche Bank, because they're getting sued. In New York State, the Adult Survivors Act went into effect on Thanksgiving Day. Under the act, the statute of limitations for filing sex crime lawsuits is waived for 1 year, allowing survivors to file lawsuits on old cases. That is, as long as they were over 18 when the alleged crime occurred. A flood of sex abuse claims are expected to pour into New York courts, and they've already begun. Among these are 2 lawsuits from victims of Jeffrey Epstein. They're suing financial giants JPMorgan Chase and Deutsche Bank. 2 unidentified women filed separate lawsuits, one for each bank, at the U.S. District Court for the Southern District of New York. Both women are seeking unspecified financial damages and class action status, which means they could sue on behalf of other victims too. The lawsuits state that both banks assisted and participated in Epstein's alleged sex trafficking by enabling him to make payments to women for sex acts, and that the banks profited from Epstein's activities. Banks profiting from shady activities? I am shocked. Shocked. The plaintiffs say Epstein's sex trafficking venture was not possible without the assistance and complicity of a financial institution, specifically a banking institution. It provided his operation with an appearance of legitimacy, thereby ensuring its continued operation. According to one of the lawyers, the time has come for the real enablers to be held responsible, especially his wealthy friends and the financial institutions that played an integral role. These victims were wronged by many, not just Epstein. He did not act alone. He didn't act alone. Given what happened with Epstein's quote-unquote suicide in 2019, I wouldn't be surprised if he didn't act alone in his jail cell either. The lawsuit states the fact that Epstein pleading guilty to soliciting sex from a minor in Florida back in 2008 should have been a warning sign for JPMorgan and Deutsche Bank. I mean, so he admitted to a sex crime. If big banks stopped doing business with everyone who committed a felony, think of all the money they would lose. But that's not the only reason the plaintiffs are suing the banks. I'll tell you more about the bank's shady ties with Epstein after this quick commercial break. Welcome back. What am I saying? This is an episode about Jeffrey Epstein and big banks allegedly being in on his sex crimes. There's no way this is staying monetized. Please support us on patreon.com/America Uncovered. 2 lawsuits have been filed against JPMorgan Chase and Deutsche Bank, accusing them of profiting off of Epstein's sex trafficking operations. According to the lawsuits, Epstein was a client of JPMorgan Chase between 1998 and 2013. After that relationship went sour, Epstein switched to Deutsche Bank. He was a client of theirs between 2013 and 2018, when the Miami Herald had reported on the accusations against Epstein. There were some shady ties between Epstein and these powerful financial institutions. According to the lawsuit against JPMorgan Chase, when Epstein started banking with the firm in 1998, he established a relationship with James Jess Staley, who was then head of private banking. The suit doesn't accuse Staley of knowing about Epstein's sex trafficking, but it does say he helped make JPMorgan a complicit financial banking institution that would ignore red flags in Epstein's account. According to the lawsuit, it was a mutually beneficial relationship. Epstein introduced Staley to wealthy clients, who in turn made JPMorgan a profit. And JPMorgan turned a blind eye to Epstein's activities. The relationship was close enough that Staley allegedly visited Epstein while he was serving his 2008 sentence in Florida. Staley left JPMorgan and became CEO of Barclays in 2015, but he got in trouble with UK regulators after it was revealed that he wasn't transparent about his relationship with Epstein. Things looked awfully suspicious, especially after it was discovered that Staley visited Jeffrey Epstein's private island twice. The same island where prosecutors allege Epstein abused and trafficked hundreds of girls until 2018. Girls as young as 11 years old. Staley stepped down from his position last year because of the scandal. He's currently waiting for the findings of his appeal contesting the UK investigation. According to Staley, his ties with Epstein started to taper off in 2013, the same year that Epstein stopped being a JPMorgan client. Although it didn't taper off enough to stop him from visiting Epstein's private island in 2015. So why did JPMorgan keep Epstein as a client for so long? Well, the lawsuit against JPMorgan says Mary Erdoes, currently head of JPMorgan's Asset and Wealth Management Division, protected Epstein after other executives questioned why the bank worked with him. This is in reference to a 2019 report by the New York Times that talked about how the bank kept Epstein as a client despite internal warnings. A JPMorgan spokesman disputed the reporting, claiming that Erdoes would never overrule compliance to retain a customer, and that she has only one recollection of formally meeting with the customer, which was the day she fired him as a client. How then was Epstein able to be with JPMorgan for so long despite growing internal concerns? Many other executives were willing to look past Epstein's criminal record for profit, allegedly, including Paul Morris, who managed Epstein's account at JPMorgan. This leads us to how Epstein shifted from JPMorgan to Deutsche Bank. More after the break. Welcome back. The lawsuit against Deutsche Bank accuses the bank of ignoring red flags from Epstein's shady activities. Paul Morris was one of Epstein's private wealth managers at JPMorgan and then later at Deutsche Bank. According to the lawsuit, Morris emailed his bosses at Deutsche Bank telling them that Epstein's accounts could generate $100 to $300 million in money flows and $2 to $4 million in annual fees. Yeah, that's not exactly chump change. And according to the lawsuit, Deutsche Bank couldn't pass up this offer. And it cost them. In 2020, they got in a lot of trouble with New York's Department of Financial Services. $150 million worth of trouble. According to the superintendent of the department, Deutsche Bank failed to adequately monitor the activity of customers that the bank itself deemed to be high risk. Despite knowing Epstein's terrible criminal history, the bank inexcusably failed to detect or prevent millions of dollars of suspicious transactions. That's putting it mildly. Here's a better translation. The bank's own anti-financial crime department identified red flags. Then bank executives met with Epstein off the record, and they just swept everything under the rug. The Department of Financial Services said that Epstein's bankers created the very real risk that payments through the bank could be used to further or cover up criminal activity and perhaps even to endanger more young women. Even Deutsche Bank's own documents prove it. Internal 2015 communications at Deutsche Bank showed that executives approved Epstein as a client in 2013 and then kept working with him even though employees worried about the fact that 40 underage girls had come forward with testimony of Epstein sexually assaulting them. In other words, who cares about sex crimes when profit's on the line? Although to be fair, these were alleged sex crimes. New York's Department of Financial Services discovered that Deutsche had sent 120 wires totaling $2.65 million for Epstein to the Butterfly Trust, whose beneficiaries include a number of women with Eastern European surnames. What? Is there something suspicious about that? Deutsche Bank decided to deal with the fines by settling. Now, it wasn't as if Deutsche Bank didn't monitor Epstein at all. According to Deutsche Bank's settlement with New York, when the bank later set conditions for monitoring Epstein's activity, they were poorly communicated, creating confusion. anti-money laundering specialists interpreted the guidance to mean that unusual activity should be flagged only if it was unusual for Epstein. Unusual for Epstein? I see. Payments to tons of women? Not unusual for Epstein. Hundreds of thousands in expenses for trips and tips? Not unusual for Epstein. Buying $1 million worth of Legos? Okay, that's a red flag. So it was only after the Miami Herald in 2018 published details of Epstein's non-prosecution agreement with federal prosecutors from a decade earlier that the bank cut Epstein off. Hey, at least Deutsche Bank cared enough about its own reputation to finally stop dealing with Epstein. But according to the settlement, an unnamed bank employee who managed the institution's relationship with him still drafted reference letters to send to other banks on Deutsche Bank letterhead. Guess old habits die hard. But, realistically, Epstein would have probably found another bank for his sex trafficking money if it weren't for his untimely death. Despite all this, some people are still untouched by the Epstein scandal. As I mentioned earlier, JPMorgan's Mary Erdos is still head of asset and wealth management. Paul Morris is now with Bank of America's Merrill Private Wealth Management in Manhattan. The banker in charge of Deutsche Bank's day-to-day relationship with Epstein, Stuart Oldfield, is now Chief Strategy Officer at Third Lake Partners. And Deutsche Bank's head of compliance in the Americas, Jan Ford, still has her position. The list goes on. And those are just the names we know. We still don't know all the names of those who directly participated in Epstein's sex trafficking scheme. We may learn about a few of them in a defamation case against Ghislaine Maxwell, Epstein's imprisoned former lover and partner in crime. A federal judge ordered documents filed in the case to be unsealed. This would reveal 8 people named in the lawsuit, one of whom was revealed to be a billionaire executive of Hyatt Hotels. To the judge who's unsealing the documents and Ghislaine Maxwell, I wish you both good health. So what do you think about the banks involved with Epstein? Leave your comments below. And if you like this show, remember that we rely mainly on direct support from viewers like you. All it takes is as little as $1 per episode over on our crowdfunding website, Patreon. Visit patreon.com/AmericaUncovered for more. Click the link below. Once again, I'm Chris Chappell. Thanks for watching America Uncovered.